Hey everyone, this is Ring Authority News, your home for non-stop WWE energy. Subscribe now, and let's dive right into the ring. You've got to be kidding me. Rhea Ripley, out for months with a serious shoulder injury, grinding in the gym, posting rehab updates, and now cleared to compete in a major match immediately upon her return on Raw. It should be a triumphant moment, but instead I'm worried. Because what they've put her in, one of the most violent match types they do, raises alarming questions about priorities. Are they celebrating her comeback, or risking her long-term health for a ratings spike? The return that should have been pure joy. When Ripley's music hit on Raw and she stepped back into that arena, it felt electric. The crowd exploded. Her presence has been sorely missed since the surgery and rehab. She's one of the most dominant, charisma-laden performers on the women's roster. Any moment she returns should be celebrated. Her return should mean relief, excitement, hope. Because when someone of her talent and profile is back, the women's division becomes instantly more compelling. And yes, on the surface, she looked the part. Strong, confident, ready for business, but the match she's entering is among the most extreme. Now let's talk match type. War Games. 2 rings side by side, surrounded by a steel cage, multiple competitors, weapons, tables, ladders, everything goes. It's chaotic, dangerous, high risk. Ideal for making big visuals, memorable moments. Not so ideal for someone returning from major surgery, especially a shoulder injury, because shoulders are tricky. You heal the bone, the joint, the muscles plus tendons. You rebuild stability and trust. Then you rebuild motion under stress. And this match type doesn't allow much margin for error, the injury timeline, and why it's raising alarm. From what is publicly known, Ripley suffered a legitimate shoulder injury earlier this year. Reports indicate it forced her to relinquish the Women's Championship due to the severity of the injury. The estimate was months of recovery. Now we're looking at a comeback after roughly 6 to 7 months. On paper, it could be okay. But one must ask, was everything truly healed? Was she at 100%? Or was she cleared early because the match demanded her presence? The point here isn't to cast blame, but to highlight the risk. Returning too soon from shoulder surgery can lead to re-injury, chronic instability, compensatory damage elsewhere. The body adapts, but often not in optimal ways when we rush. And in wrestling, when you are in a cage, swinging into walls, hitting tables, catching yourself instinctively, that's when vulnerabilities get exposed. Why this decision suggests short-term gain over long-term health. Here's where the frustration comes in. If the company's priority is eyeballs, ticket sales, moment value, then the performer's long-term career may end up taking a back seat. Think about calendar. War Games is a marquee event. Having Ripley back for it gives a major boost. Having her come back slowly via lower-risk matches would be less flashy. But safe. The question we must ask, did they choose spectacle over safe reintroduction? There are alternatives. She could have returned simply with a promo, tag matches, eased in, or they could have placed her in the War Games team but designed her spots to limit risk. Maybe she enters later, avoids heavy weapons, uses more controlled work. But the decision appears to be, get her in the thick of it. The impact on the women's division. Ripley's return is huge for the division. She elevates everyone she touches, but it also disrupts stories that moved on in her absence. Women who stepped up may find themselves shoved aside to make room for the big return. That's fine if it's done thoughtfully, but if the return is used purely as a spotlight moment without context, yes, it could undo momentum others built. Also, how the team is built, who her opposition is, matter deeply. If her opponents are less experienced or the match is booked without full consideration of her physical status, risk increases, not just for her but for others. One misstep in a crowded multi-woman cage weapon match, and we could see a tragic consequence. My concerns are not just personal, they're structural. I'm not simply worried for one match. My concern is about how the business treats physical risk and return-to-action decisions. Wrestlers feel pressure. They don't want to lose momentum, be forgotten, see someone else rise. The promoter has revenue interests. The medical team, the performer, the creative team. There are multiple motivations. Ideally, all align around long-term well-being, but in reality, short-term needs sometimes win. So when Ripley steps back in for War Games so soon, to me, it signals a pattern. Big moment prioritized, safe integration delayed or sacrificed. What this means for Rhea's career. Ripley is in the prime of her career. She has many years ahead if things go well. But if she re-injures herself, or suffers secondary damage because her shoulder is still adapting, or if she compensates and injures something else, the cost could be high. Not just for the next 6 months, but for her prime period. She deserves a legacy, not a hastened return leading to physical decline. Why I hope I'm wrong. Look, it's not all doom and gloom. If everything goes perfectly, her shoulder holds, she delivers a killer match, she returns to full form, then great, I'll be the first to celebrate. I want her to succeed. I want her to be the dominant force we all know she can be. And if this booking works and she is fine, that sends a message. Yes, you can come back on your schedule, you can headline, you can be the moment. But I will be watching with my heart in my throat. This isn't about wrestling being safe. It's about smart. Big moves, big matches. They're part of what makes the show. But when you add serious injury history plus extremely risky match type plus compressed timeline equals you've got a recipe for concern. Every time she takes a bump, I'll be looking. Did she brace that shoulder? Did she get thrown head first? Is the spot too dangerous? Every opponent has to know. She has this limitation, we protect her. But do they? Do they let that shape the match spots? Or do they press full throttle? Final thought. Ripley is back. That's wonderful. The excitement is real. The women's division is better with her in it. But that return doesn't need to come at the cost of her long-term career. If the company truly cares about its stars, not just for one night, but across years, then the choice should always be safe comeback with build, big moment when truly ready. Because there's no moment more important than the years after today. Here's to a powerful return. And here's hoping it's the start of many strong, healthy years for Rhea Ripley. Let's hope the booking, the medical decision-making, the match design all reflect that. And not just one spectacular pop,